Hello everyone. So today is another video about share trading. I had made a few videos about share trading, especially share trading in UK, and this is a follow-up to that series. So today I'll be looking at some of the mistakes that I have made and what I have learned from it, and what are the two most important things in my view so that you don't lose money in share trading, because it's very easy to lose money in share trading. And then finally, people have been asking me, I had given some tips about what shares I have bought and why did I buy them, and how you can analyze those shares. People have been asking me what have I researched for June for this month, and what have I bought in June. So I'll also be talking about my current portfolio, what I have invested in for this month and what I have researched for this month. So before we look at it, I got some mixed comments. Mostly I get positive comments in my channel because it's about information. And for this video, for this series, I got a few comments from brokers, especially saying that, are you a broker? Why are you advising people to buy shares directly? And also, are you a share trading expert? Why are you doing these series? So, first of all, I accept it. I'm not an expert. In fact, in all my videos about share trading, the one thing that I've clarified is I'm also a beginner. I'm learning this process, and till about early this year when I was talking about share trading or thinking about share trading, I always thought it's very, very difficult. It's like rocket science, and you really need specialists to be able to do that, and you need to have a lot of understanding to be able to do that. And once I started having interest in it and started learning some of the concepts, it seemed a lot simpler to me once I've understood a few basic concepts, and which is what I thought I'll do by making videos about it, so people who are in similar shoes to me, like I was in earlier this year, and they can understand at least what share trading is, and they can decide to do share trading if they want to. That is all my intention was, and I had made it very clear I'm not an expert. I'm still learning. There's a lot to learn for me as well. And I had made given enough warnings to people saying that invest small, do not invest too much of your money in shares, because when you invest small, because you're in the learning process, you'll get to understand it better, even if you decide to start it. That was the intention of making these videos, and I think I made it very clear in all my videos about share trading so far. Another thing is about brokers, using brokers or using middlemen. I'm against using middlemen in anything for that matter. Even agriculture, for example. Why do middlemen need to take all the profits when the farmers are the ones who are growing it and they get less than 10% of the profits and 90% of it go to middlemen? Same my thought process apply in share trading as well. Why should we pay money unnecessarily to brokers if we can do the research ourselves? And we can invest our own money and get the profits ourselves, instead of going and asking somebody else to invest our money. It's an easier process as far as I have understood it, and I thought, why not do it ourselves? Why do we need to go through brokers? That's my answer. So let's get into it. So the two most important mistakes that people make in share trading and they lose money is, one is not doing enough research, and the other is not having enough patience. Now, we talked about research, and I talked about how I research my companies, how I spend at least a couple of days going through so many documents and so much information about a company before I decide to invest in a company. So I did the right thing about picking the right companies, but I also made some mistakes in terms of not having enough patience. So I've used a few examples to show what kind of mistakes I've made and why patience is really important, so that you don't lose money and you end up making good profits. So let's use those examples and talk about it. So the first example is a company called Moderna. Moderna is the world's first company that made coronavirus vaccine using a technology called mRNA. So we all know about DNA. mRNA is messenger RNA, which is in the body. And the technology of making vaccines in the body was used for the first time to create a coronavirus vaccine by this company called Moderna. It's a Cambridge-based university, but they are listed in NASDAQ. The share value is in dollars. So I researched a lot, and the company was doing really well, and their trials, the human trials, was really in an advanced stage when I decided that this is the company that I'm going to buy. And so I bought about 38 shares on 27th February. And the share value was roughly around $31.99, it's about $32, and converting it into pounds, it was about 25 pounds. So I put about 1,000 pounds, 994 pounds, including fees and everything. So my total investment was about 994 pounds. And it didn't move for nearly about 2 months. It was literally maybe about 5 or 10 pounds here and there, but it was not moving much. And I waited patiently for about 2 months. I had decided myself that I'm never going to sell a share in a loss when I started this process, unless until something disastrous happens. So middle of April, after about nearly 2 months, the share value increased to about $36, about 35.85, and the total profit in terms of the share value itself was around $100. I mean £100 in terms of what I've invested. So I sold it at that point, and I got about £75 profit, because if I take out the fees and foreign exchange conversion fees that I had to pay, because $11.95 was the HNL fees, and there was foreign exchange fees as well. So even though I made £100 in total, the net profit was around £75. I was quite happy about it, because this was one of my initial stages of buying and selling, and I thought I'd done really well, putting £1,000 in and taking out nearly £75, which is about 7.5% in 2 months. And in UK you get about 1% return, so getting a 7.5% return was good enough at that point. But in 1 month, in literally 4 weeks, on 18th of May, the share value went up to $80. If I had sold it on 18th of May, the total value of the shares was around £2,400, which means I would have got nearly £1,400 profit. So had I waited for another 4 weeks, I could have made £1,400 profit instead of the £75 profit I made. And even if I had not sold it on 18th of May, 18th of June, when I was putting this content together a couple of days back, the share value was around $65, 52 pounds, which means that still I was nearly double my investment. I could have made like £960 profit. So this is the importance of hanging on to something and not selling it for a short profit, because I've done a lot of research about this company, and I've given my portfolio screenshot here so that you know that those dates and those numbers that I'm talking about, they're all in that portfolio screenshot. So this is obviously the first example of having enough patience, and I'll give you another example, similar example about having patience. So this one is a company called GeneDrive PLC, GDR. They also make coronavirus test kits, and their approach is a lot more data driven than most of the other pharma companies, most of the other companies in the biopharm sector. So done a lot of research. There was a lot of good feedback about this company, a lot of good news articles written about this company, trusted this company completely, and I bought it on 25th March, 758 shares at a price of about 38 pence. This is a UK listed company. So totally I put about £300, and I got about 758 shares. Within 2 weeks, or 14th of April, after I had bought it on in end of March, in 2 weeks nearly, it went up to about 55 pence. So I was getting about £120 profit, or £120 increase in share value, and I sold it on 14th of April, and I got £100 profit. So of my £300 investment, I got nearly about 35%, 33% profit in literally 2 weeks, and I was literally happy with what I had done, because again, that was my learning process. And within 2 weeks, or within 3 weeks of having me sold it on 14th of April, on 5th of May, the share value was around 2.20 pence per share, which means the value of my shares at that point was nearly £1,600, and my £300 investment would have given me £1,358 profit had I sold it just 15 days later than the point that I had sold it. Had I waited for 15 more days, I could have made £1,300 profit instead of the £100 profit that I got from it. And even if I had kept it, again, this is just an example, had I kept it, now the value is around £1.27. Still, it's £653 profit instead of the £100 profit that I sold it for. So sometimes when you wait too long, the profits will come down, but the profits could generally be higher than the first profit that you see. So the key is to patiently wait and not sell it at the immediate first profit that you are seeing for the first time. So this is the common mistake I think most beginners like me would make. The learning from this, I kind of used it in one of my other shares, and that will be my third example. So like I said, right, I decided that from a patience perspective, that no matter what, I'm not going to sell a share in a loss, irrespective of whatever it might look at the point when the shares are going down. I decided that I'm going to wait until I'm able to make a profit out of it. So even though in the first two examples I didn't have enough patience, this is an example where I had enough patience to wait for it. So Tiziana Life Sciences, TILS, is a very interesting biopharm company. They are again they are making a coronavirus vaccine using a new technology, and they are not just making a coronavirus vaccine like the other companies. Most of the other companies that we talked about. COVID-19 is probably their main focus. There's like a one-trick pony. Tiziana Life Sciences obviously had more confidence because they're not a one-trick pony. They had so many other products that they were working on. One of the other interesting products is they were making an encapsulated technology for chemotherapy, where the chemotherapy is capsulated and it will only release when it finds tumorous cells or cells that have tumor, which means that it doesn't affect healthy cells. So anyone who undergoing cancer treatment for using chemotherapy will know that you have hair loss and you have skin problems when you do chemotherapy because of radiation affecting the whole body and even healthy cells as well. So their technology could be a game changer if it bears fruit, because they are basically saying that they can have a safer chemotherapy process. So these are some of the technologies that they are working on. So I read all their products, and in fact when I was making this video in 19th of June, there was an interesting patent that they got. You can actually go and Google for TILS patent, and you will find the most interesting patent that they got this week. So again, this is just a example of showing that they had a lot of products and I had confidence in this company. So I bought it on 11th of March for about £1 because it had already peaked at that point. 274 shares at about £300 value. But immediately after I had bought it, the news went quiet because there was still, it happens with a lot of biopharm companies, right? There's a lot of research and development that needs to go in, and you can't always keep pumping news every week. So for about 2 or 3 weeks, the news was very quiet, and naturally when the news is quiet and there's not much news, and there's not constant news about a company, the share value drops in these kind of companies. So on 2nd of April, the share value kind of dropped about 33 pence. So almost 70% of my investment was gone at that point. It was down to about, my 300 pound investment was down to about 100 pounds, which means had I sold it at that point, I would have made a loss of about 200 pounds. But I didn't sell it, and I knew I had to patiently wait with this company. So I waited, and a couple of weeks later, the share value was around 60 pence. And at that point, my loss was only 100 pounds. So if I was in a panic mode and I had seen that my loss could have been 200 pounds, I could have sold it at that point, saying that, okay, no, at least I'll cut my losses. I'll be happy with at least a 100 pound loss, and I get my 200 pound back instead of my 300 pound. But again, that's the point when I had learnt about Moderna, and when I was learning about GDR and everything else, I didn't sell it, and I bought more. In fact, end of April at 54 pence to bring my average down. So I bought 553 shares, 300 pounds more shares, and my average came down. So that's what I was doing. So my share price was about £1 that I had bought, and buying at 54 pence, my average was brought down. So my average was now about 73 pence, 600 pound investment, and 827 shares that I had. And on 1st of June, as I had expected, the share value went up to £1.12, which was the peak that it had gone to. So because I had brought my average down, even if I had not brought my average down, by that point I would have made a profit. Because I had brought my average down by investing more, because I believed in the company, and my profit at that point was around 324 pounds, because I had 827 shares at an average price of 73 pence. And again, it went down. So 18th of June, when I was putting this content together, it was only 90 pence, which means my profit had come down to 146 pence from the 324 pounds that I saw. But now I know that this company is going to really do well, and there's a lot of positive news that was coming out of this company. So what I had done was, it had dipped earlier this week. It had dipped about 80 pence. And now I bought more actually. I bought 496 shares more and invested 400 pounds more. So my total investment in this company was about 1000 pounds, and I brought my average slightly increased because I'm buying at a slightly higher price than my average. So my average now is about 77 pence. Still on 18th of June, like I said, it was 90 pence. And I could have made a profit of 162 pounds when I had sold it, if I had sold it on 18th of June. So I was actually intending to make this video on 18th of June, and that's all the content that I had prepared till that point. Interestingly, I didn't have enough time to finish this content, and I had to make the Tamil version of this video on the morning of 19th June. And as I was coming to this page and putting this content together, or talking about this content, I just went to check the current share price, and there was a very good news article about Desiana Life Sciences, and the share price had shot up to £1.10 back again, which means that overnight from 18th of June to 19th of June, my profit went up to 426 pounds if I had sold it at that point. Again, I didn't sell it. I'm just giving you an example that in one day, the profit went from 162 pounds to 426 pounds, nearly 300 pounds change. So hopefully these three examples had given you enough evidence that you need to have patience. Once you have done enough research and enough trust in a company, that you've invested in the company, you need to patiently wait, even if the share price drops and you think it could be a loss for you, unless and until something disastrous has happened. Like for example, we talked about GGP, which is the gold mining company in Australia, in Haverion. And if there is a big touch wood, let's assume that nothing happens. Let's hope nothing happens. But if there is a big earthquake or something like that, and the whole mine closes, or there's some natural disaster that's causing the mining process to stop for a long time, then that there's going to be a definite problem, and you naturally have to sell it because you don't know how long you have to wait. But unless and until something disastrous has happened to the company, or something outside the circumstances of the company that's going to impact it, you have to wait patiently, even if there is no positive news immediately. Sometimes it could take months. Like the example that I showed, it was only taking 2 or 3 weeks. But sometimes it could take months for you to make a profit, and that's the importance of having patience. That's when you need to make sure that the money that you're investing is basically your disposable income, and you're able to live without it for a period of a few months, or whatever time period that you need to have in your mind, that you can make a profit out of it. If you're putting money that you really need, like in a couple of weeks later, or you need like next month, you could end up having a desperate situation where you had to make a sale, and at that point it could be a loss for you. So this is the most important point why people would make a loss, because they are investing money that is actually essential for them in the next few days, and they have to take it out no matter what. And that point, they are basically desperately selling, and it could be making a loss for them. So finally, people had been asking me about my current portfolio. Obviously, GGP is still my holding position. We talked about it enough in the first video that I had made about what shares I have bought. It's a gold mining company. So when I spoke about it first, it was about 7 pence in May, and today it's about 12 pence, which means that there's a 71% profit. So if I had put 1,000 pounds, for example, my profit is sitting around 700 pounds as an example. So anyone who would have invested at that point, profit is roughly around 70% at least in GGP. Desiana Life Sciences, we just spoke about it enough. MVR is a company called Melody VR. So this is a virtual reality company. So what they're doing is they're investing in music festivals, bringing it in virtual reality. So there's an app called MVR, which you can actually see on your mobile phone, Apple phone or Android phone. You can actually go to the Play Store, and you can get the MVR app. There are some free clips as well, which you can actually see about some of the older music festivals where they're bringing it into 360-degree virtual reality. So you can actually wear those VR glasses, and you will feel that you are actually in a concert. The reason why this is gaining importance is because now most of the music concerts are being cancelled because of COVID-19. And because it's a massive crowd gathering, we don't know if in the next few months any music festival is going to happen. And there are a lot of music fans who go out to these concerts, buy tickets, spend money, and they need to have that music concert experience. So Melody VR is investing in bringing these music concerts in 360-degree VR. And they are actually building purpose-built stages, purpose-built cameras, and they are having performers come and perform like they would do a tour performance. They're tying up with performers, and they're bringing concerts in VR. So this is again a new concept that they are trying to introduce. And there's a festival called Wireless Festival that's very famous in UK as a 3-day festival, music festival, and they've tied up with Wireless, and in beginning of July they're going to bring this Wireless Festival in VR for the first time. And their stages that they're purpose-built stages that they are bringing for the Wireless Festival has been in news as well. So this is actually getting a lot of publicity and a lot of attention about the concept that they're trying, and could be something new, and it's sitting at about 4 pence at this point. And so there's a lot of potential for growth if it goes in the right way, because they could be selling one music festival or one concert for if the ticket price for actually going to the concert was about 30 pounds, they could be selling one music festival for 10 pounds or 5 pounds even. And that's a huge sale, because these performers have millions and millions of followers. Like, for example, the music festival alone, the wireless music festival alone, the 10 performers that they're going to perform, combined they have like more than 100 million followers, for example, in Twitter. So that's one of the investments that I've made. That's one of the shares that I've identified for this month. Again, some of the older suggestions that I've made, we'll just take a look at what is the current price point. NCYT, we spoke about it. It started from about 15 pence earlier this year and went about to £5.20 pence. And when we spoke about it, it was sitting around £3, I think, but now it's sitting about £2.40 pence. So again, it's a cautious investment. It's still a good buy, but still a cautious investment, because it had gone to about £5.20 pence and it had now fallen back. So approach it with a caution. Avacta is another company that I spoke about, which when we spoke about it was about 70 pence. Now it's sitting about £1.40, which is like double the price that we spoke about in May. But it still went about £2 and it had come back. It has come back now to about 1.40 pence. And Mobile Streams is another company. This is a long-term hold. This is probably going to take several months. The reason is this is less than 1p. This is not even 3p. This is 0.003p, which means that it is less than 1p at this point. And it started out from 0.001 this year, and it went up to 0.005. But again, so it's a very, very small value share, and this is just starting to build contracts. We spoke about it earlier. So it's going to be a long-term hold, several months before you make any profit out of it. But still, I think because of the value of the share, because of the market capital, it's still a good investment. So those are my shares for this month. So hopefully this video was useful. Until next time.